Hi, and welcome to the 64th Hammer tutorial. Today we're going to be making items trigger when you look at a certain thing inside of a brush. So this is relatively simple. I've seen this effect used very well in games like Nightmare House and horror type games. Pretty cool. Today, just to get the point across, I'm just going to use an MB explosion. So, first thing you need to do is create a brush somewhere in your map. I don't really care where. Create it somewhere. And press Ctrl T. Make it a trigger. Look. Now let's look at these outputs that we have here. Actually, first scratch that. Create a info target. Name it something. I'm going to name mine Target, like the store. That sucks. I hate Target. They're bad. So now we can look under these. We want look target. Now this is the entity that you're going to have to look at for it to be fired. Alright. Now the timeout. Time in seconds to wait after a player entity enters the trigger before firing the on timeout output. Now, basically what this means is, okay, so you can walk into the trigger and then let's say you're in there for 3 seconds. After you walked in there and after 3 seconds, the timeout will fire because you've been in there for more than 3 seconds. It's basically GTFO out of the trigger look. The look time is how long you have to look at it before it fires the output. Resets if the player leaves trigger or looks outside the field of view. So if let's say your look time is 5 seconds, let's say you look at something for 3 seconds, you leave the trigger, you come back in, you're going to have to start the 5 seconds over again. If you break the field of view, what that is how close the player has to stay looking at the target. 1 is you have to be dead on it. 0 is plus or minus 90 degrees. So I think you can look at it out of the corner of your screen then. As long as the entity is on your screen, you will be considered looking at it. And negative is basically if it's rendered in your area. So if it's in the same room as you and you have this set to -1, you'll be triggered. But at that point, you might as well just use a trigger multiple. So now we're going to create an NV explosion. And I'm going to give this one of the most creative names ever. It's going to be named Boom. What up? Well, actually, Boom has 2 O's. I'll paste that right there. Under the flags, we want repeatable and no damage. Apply. And now under the trigger look, go to outputs and click add. And all trigger underscore entities have the same base outputs, which is on end touch all, on start touch all. They all have those outputs, and like I said, on timeout, if you're in there for 3 seconds, GTFO, it'll fire on timeout. And the on trigger, this is what it is when you look at something. So if you've completed the look time, it'll trigger it. I'm going to do target, and then it's actually going to do the explosion, and then explode. And I'm going to increase my look time to 2. And I'm going to compile this. And I'll see you kids in Counter-Strike. On a side note, under the flags on the trigger look, you're going to want to uncheck fire once, and you're going to want to check clients. So that way clients can use it. Now I'm actually going to compile and see you in Counter-Strike. Alright, now in Counter-Strike, I'm looking at my target right there, and nothing's happening. I step into here, explodes, explodes again. So, if you have fire once on, it's only going to fire it'll only use it once, and then it's basically the entity is disabled. But if you have it on like this, it's going to refire itself every X amount of seconds, where X is your look time. So I hope this tutorial helped you. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.